Guys, so this is another one of my talking about traumas in my life video. Um, Basically, today I'm gonna talk about some of my relationships. Um, I didn't date a whole lot in high school as far as like have different boyfriends. Kind of had the same boyfriend from sophomore year all the way to senior year. And I mean, I worked for his family. They had a video store and um, like a convenience store that they owned in town. And so I used to work at the video store, and um, he had joined the army, and I mean things were good between us. Like I thought, um, and like he had even proposed to me. He took leave and proposed to me. It was kind of cool. I was in high school, of course, it was cool. We had decided that we wouldn't get married until I graduated from high school at least. But probably college because I really wanted to go to college, and I wasn't sure about doing college and being married and all that kind of stuff, which I mean, thinking back, could I have done probably, but you know, it didn't happen that way anyway. Wouldn't have made it that far. Um, so he was deployed to the first Gulf storm um, before 9/11 and all of that. There was a Gulf War, and I was writing to him every day. I went through tons, tons and tons of books of stamps, and I wrote to him every day and sent him letters. And of course, he couldn't call or anything like that. Um, and in January of my senior year, I believe it was in January. I don't know. At any point, at any rate, I hadn't heard from him, but I knew his parents said he'd come back. But then they were like, he's doing all kinds of like stuff where they first come back from deployment and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. He just hasn't had time to call. And then I didn't hear from his parents much. And I was like, wow, what's going on? But I didn't want to be a bug, like things happen. People are deployed. And I didn't know something had happened. And I was 17, like. And so then I got a phone call just after New Year's of my senior year. And this guy says to me, hey, I'm a friend of this guy, and he gave me your number because I'm moving to the area, and he said you'd be a great person to show me around because I'm his friend, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that'd be fine. I'm like, we're talking. And we got to talking, he made a comment, and he said, yeah, when I was at his wedding a few weeks ago, I was like, excuse me? And he's like, oh, you didn't know he got married? I'm like, no. And I was like really upset, and he heard it in my voice, and he said, were you guys more than friends? I'm like, well, I have an engagement ring on that he gave me, so yeah, this is a little shocking. And he was like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And he's like, I won't bother you. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's not your fault. And he's like, no. He's like, because I don't want to be in the middle of this. And I was like, okay. And I respected that. And he hung up with me. And the very next day, I got a call from this guy. And he said, so-and-so said I need to call you. And I'm like, when were you planning on telling me you were married? I mean, literally, like when I talked to his friend, I got the phone, I literally collapsed onto the ground because I was so upset. I've been with this guy for 3 years of life. I had not had dates to different things because I had a boyfriend who wasn't in high school. I didn't have homecoming dates. I didn't have prom dates. I went to prom, but I went with other people that were my friends. Um, like girlfriends. Like I went with girls to prom because, I had one friend that kind of went with us. Like it was me and one of my girlfriends, and he went with us because his girlfriend had dumped him the day before prom. But, it was just one of those things. Like, I had given up a lot of my high school career for this guy, and only for him to just marry somebody else. So I asked him who it was, how long he'd known them, and he basically told me, it was this girl, and she would serve with him, and I hadn't been writing him letters, which I had, and I knew I had, and I said, yes, I did. And he's like, well, I never got them, so I don't think you did. And he's like, all she was telling me is how horrible it was that you didn't care that I was at war, and This girl just played him. Like, used the fact that the mail system in the military at the time sucked. And during wartime, mail sucks anyway. And he's like, I only got like 4 letters from you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not even going to talk to you about this because I know I sent you a letter every day. And at this point, you're married. I can't do anything about it. I don't mess with married guys. So, see ya. And I hang up. Like 2 weeks later, I got a call from him. And he was crying because he'd shown up to work and every letter I had written him was in a box for him to pick up because it hadn't made it over there. And he felt bad. And he said, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done this. I should have believed you. I should have trusted you. And it was just hard. And we kept talking actually as friends. And I agreed to be friends with him because we had been so close for 3 years. He was like the person I was closest to in the world. He knew everything that was going on in my life. And I didn't have another friend like that. Because at school, I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. Like, people would pretend to be my friends, but like kids I'd been friends with since we were in elementary school, like it just suddenly stopped talking to me because they became part of the popular group. And I didn't want to be part of the popular group. The popular group drank and did drugs, and I wasn't interested in any of that. And it was just a lot of never feeling like I fit in anywhere. I was really good at choir. I was like I tested high in all of the auditions and stuff for singing. Like, I was number 1 or number 3 in the Eastern Shore or something like that. Like, I ranked very high. It was always between me and 2 other girls, like for the highest rank. And we were always like 1 through 5, like somewhere in there. We were in the top 5 of all of New England. And so that's what I was good at. I was great at singing. I loved singing. But that competition between singers just always felt like no one was really my friend. They were only my friend because I was a good singer and they wanted to look like they were a better singer. I don't know. It was just like, and then as soon as they realized they weren't going to get, like, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking they were going to get, but as soon as they realized they weren't going to get what they wanted, they just stopped talking to me. So I just didn't ever have friends I could trust in school. I mean, I had 1 or 2, but even then it was still a bit different because I had pressures from my family not to be friends with them. So I had to hide being friends with them. So I couldn't spend time with them outside of school. And if even when I had my license, I had to hide when I went to go see them because my family did not want me talking to them because they were Christian. Like, literally, that was it. So I didn't really have friends to go to. I didn't have someone to call and be like, this just happened to me. I mean, I had a couple friends that got really into their boyfriends, and so we weren't as close as we were before. But it just sucked. I was dealt with it alone, and I was so upset and I was so hurt. But I wanted to stay friends with him because he was the only person that knew everything about me. And I needed a friend. And so I was willing to overlook the amount that he'd hurt me for some stupid reason to keep a friend, which seems to be a trend for me. And so then I didn't date for a while. I tried dating a little bit. And it wasn't good. I dated a guy who ended up getting arrested for arson. Yes. That was the next guy I dated. He was 2 years younger than me, which was interesting. In high school, that's a big deal when the guy's younger. Just so you know, it's not right. And we tried to stay friends. Him and I tried to stay friends. But his current wife made it clear to him that I was not to be his friend. And I don't know if he was saying something or felt something for me that I don't know. But I do know that his mom didn't think he should marry anyone but me because his mom loved me. Because I didn't put up with his BS and I tried to make him have goals and do things and be a better person. So his mom loved me. So I think that's maybe part of the problem. Maybe his mom said something about me. I don't know. But I mean, no one likes his current wife, and it's whatever. She's kind of rude. But we stayed friends after we broke up just because I just needed somebody a little more mature. Plus, there was a whole fact that he was accused of doing arson, and I was not into that kind of stuff. And then the next guy I met was kind of an accident. And he was the brother of one of my friends from high school. And my boss, a different person, my friend's brother, who was my boss at the, what do you call it? I worked at a summer rec program before college. And this guy, I thought he was kind of cute, but he was Army. And since my ex was Army and he had hurt me so bad, I was pretty positive that, um, yeah, this guy was going to be a jerk too. And we had been talking on the phone and writing letters. And out of the blue one day, he sent me a card that just had a rose on it. And on the inside said, "I love you." And I was like, whoa, that's something. Like, I hadn't even thought about him that way, really. I mean, I thought he was cute. Don't get me wrong. He was cute. And so it was cool. And then we kind of took it to another level after that, talking on the phone like every day. Um, he was a crazy Army boy. Like, it was whatever. He came up to visit a couple times. He was the one that was there at my house when my teacher died, which will be another story. But you can hold on to this and say, okay, that's who was there. And I needed him during that time. Like, he stayed with me. I couldn't even go to the funeral. I was so upset. He stayed with me. And then he, of course, had to go back down to Kentucky, Tennessee, where his base was. And then when I went to college, my assault happened, which will be another video. And it really affected him because he was upset that he couldn't be there to protect me. And he was blaming himself so much, and it wasn't his fault. And him being so upset was affecting my ability to recover from what had happened to me. And to this day, there's details about that assault he does not know. And he doesn't need to. And I know he sometimes watches these videos. And if you are watching, no, I'm never going to tell you. It's okay. And I said, I went down there to visit him after I'd found out I was expecting from the assault. And we spent a week together visiting and spending time together. And I'm going to rewind a little bit. The reason I went down there was kind of to support him. After what had happened to me and him being so upset, he was going out to the bars a lot and drinking very heavily. One of these nights, or the story he told me is, and I don't know if it's true or not, so before anyone says, oh, it doesn't sound like a real story, I don't know. This is just what I was told. One of those nights, some girl was at the bar, and he woke up the next morning married. And back then, in that area, you could go to a JP in the middle of the night and get married. No certificate, nothing needed in advance. And then he had to go through the process of getting divorced from her because she immediately went down and applied for housing because they were legally married and all this other stuff. And I was hurt, but I also understood that he was trying to deal with his own pain from what was going on with me and the fact that he felt like he didn't protect me and he was taking it very personally. And then he had filed for divorce. He spent a lot of money with an attorney. And I went down there to be supportive of him getting through this. He was living with a friend. She was living in base housing. She said, oh, well, I'm married to a military guy. I get base housing. And while this was going on, and after they got split up, and him and I were talking on the phone after I'd gone home, and he was under a lot of stress, and he was really dealing with some stuff. And I said, I want you to take 2 weeks and just be sure this is what you want. Because my plan and our plan had been in January, I would move down there with him and we would get married and ... just go forward. And we would just raise my child as if it was his and it would be fine. And I didn't hear from him after that. So I said, on this date, give me a call and we'll talk it out in the letter. And I didn't hear from him again. And just after Christmas, I think, I bumped into one of his relatives and they mentioned he'd come home for Christmas. with his girlfriend. And so I said, okay, well, there's my answer. But I really would appreciate like the common respect of being told, like, hey, you're right. This is more than I can handle. You're asking a lot of me. I can't handle this right now. This is more than I need to handle. And so that was it. I just didn't talk to him. And then I realized I was alone. I had pressures from my family, which I'll talk about later in another video. And when all of the not talking to me stuff happened, I had met a few friends. And one of them was a guy that was part of this group of friends I hung out with. And around January, February, right when all this stuff was kind of like hitting me the hardest, you know, he was there for me. He was super supportive of me. And I told him how scared I was and how I didn't know if I could do this on my own and how everybody I've ever cared about had let me down. And what I didn't realize was I was setting myself up for hell. So this guy seemed like a really nice guy, and we got married in April. We'd known each other 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 6 months. We'd known each other. We really started like dating per se in like the end of January, so 3 months, not even. I think it was April 16th we got married, and I literally did it because I knew I couldn't go back to the person that I wanted to be with, and I didn't want to try to raise this child alone, but I also didn't want to give her up, and the other option was just not an option for me, which I'll discuss later. And so that's when I got into my abusive marriage. And I accepted the way I was treated for some unknown reason. It's not unknown. I'll talk about that relationship in a different video. But I mean, that was kind of how my messed up relationship started. But I could definitely draw a line from not having people stay in my life for any length of time, and not giving me that basis of self-worth and that basis of I don't know. I mean, actually, the guy from high school and I, when I was a single parent up in Connecticut, somewhere around 2000, he had come to town for a funeral and got in touch with me, and we met, and I was petrified I was still going to have feelings for him. And I was honestly relieved that I didn't, because I was afraid, like, that was my first true love. Like, that was, you know, and that was my high school crush. I was so afraid there was still going to be something there, and it just wasn't there. And I was really glad, honestly. Really glad. And the second guy, I am friends with him now. Do I still have feelings for him? Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I always will. But like my first boyfriend was like my first true puppy love. The other guy was definitely my first true love, and the one that I was kind of held people up to standards for. And I mean, we're friends. Like I said, he watches these videos sometimes. I've asked him not to watch this one, but he might. So we'll see how well he listens. Probably doesn't listen well at all. But I think even with exes that I'm still friends with, I mean, the two people I'm married to, I do not speak to. I mean, I sometimes speak to my first ex because he is my kid's dad, but that's like the extent of it. It's minimal at best. And now that my kids are adults, they talk to him. I don't. And even before, we really didn't talk that much. But I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I accepted things that I shouldn't have because I didn't feel like I mattered. So, sorry this is so long. It's why I actually snipped it down to just 2 guys that broke my heart, and changed how I felt about myself and allowed me to accept things I shouldn't have. And I don't feel like either one of them necessarily did it on purpose. I believe a lot of it was situational. I don't necessarily blame them. It's not like they did things on purpose to hurt me. But the way things happened, their responses could have been different. The first one, when you're in the military, there's a lot of that Jody got your girl stuff going on. And so when he wasn't getting letters from me, he has this girl telling him, well, obviously she's doing something else because she's not writing to you. And, you got guys saying, Jody's got your girl, Jody's got your girl. What was he going to think? And I get it. Like, I get it. I really do. I don't necessarily blame him. And like I said, with the second one, it is really traumatic what happened to me. And it's really traumatic for people who care about you. And people handle stress differently. So I don't really blame him for freaking out, making bad decisions. And I gave him the option to walk away. So I can't be mad at him for choosing to. I opened the door and said, if you want to go, go. And he did. And I can't blame him for that. Taking on someone else's child and the emotional stuff I was going through from what happened is a lot for anybody. And so I don't blame him for that. Like, it's a decision he made. And it was the right decision for him at the time. And yes, it affected me long term. But at the same token, I don't know what would have happened if things had gone differently. I don't know if things would have been better for me. These are things I just don't know. And I'm not willing to take the guess because they're past. They're things in the past. And, the first guy from high school and I were friends on Facebook for quite some time. And I went to a thing and they talked about, well, if you're still talking to your exes, you need to ask yourself why. Or if you're still friends with them on Facebook or whatever, why are you still friends with them? Like, if you don't have a good reason, then you need to cut off ties. And I kind of felt like he and I didn't talk, but yet we followed each other on Facebook. Like, we were friends on Facebook. Like, why are we friends on Facebook? I have no desire to be your friend on Facebook anymore. Like, I don't really care what goes on in your life. The second one, him and I are really good friends. Like, we've always had a very special connection. And if how I have that is as a friend, then I'll take it. Because he gets me when I need to talk to somebody because he knows me, and it's vice versa. We can talk to each other about anything. And we all need that friend. And just because I happen to be an ex doesn't mean anything negative. At the time, there was a lot of stressful stuff going on. And the fact that we've been able to come back around and have a friendship is great. We didn't not have a friendship because of us deciding not to be friends. It's just the way things happened. It was too hard for him to be in my life, and it was also hard for him not to be in my life. So it had double-edged sword for him. But at the time, it was way too hard to be in my life, and I get that completely. And there was definitely some time frame in there where I had found a way to connect with him, and I had sent him a letter, and his ex now was his girlfriend still at the time, and she intercepted the letter, and she never showed it to him. She never told him she had it. And so we probably could have been friends, or who knows, maybe gotten back together. I don't know what would have happened. But his ex got in the middle, and that's whatever. But at the end of the day, that's what happened, and that's where we're at, and it's okay. Like, things have happened. They've changed who I am. Some of them have changed me for the better, some for the worse. But the stuff that's changed for the worse, I'm overcoming, and that's what's important.